Okay. Welcome to the top 10 of 10. Today is June 6, 2014. Your host, Dan Wright, OurHD.com. And here's the top 10 stories. Oh, yeah. All right. Story number 1, story number 10, actually. Uh, Cable companies are reportedly funding fake consumer groups to attack net neutrality. This is from Engadget. The public wants net neutrality so badly that it broke the FCC's website. But can the weighty voice of the people combat well-funding AstroTurf? Vice believes that the nation's cable companies are funding groups that pretend to represent consumers, but are actually just parroting their own stance to shout down the general public. For instance, the outlet learned that Broadband for America, which describes itself as a coalition involving, quote, independent consumer advocacy groups, and which counts Senator John Sununu amongst its members, is actually funded by the NCTA, big cable's lobbyist. It's the same situation with the American Consumer Institute, another anti-net neutrality voice of the people. So, surprise, surprise, big cable. The telecoms are astroturfing net neutrality. Story number 9. This is from CNN Money. Walmart workers strike in major cities. Union organizers said employees were set to walk picket lines throughout the day in Tampa, Miami, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. This is for higher wages. This is when asked about Wednesday's strikes, a Walmart spokesman said, "What we are seeing are very few, if any, people who work for Walmart participating in the activities. The union has to bus people around to different protests." The fight for higher wages has been a recent theme across the retail and fast food industries. McDonald's workers and union organizers have staged strikes, even taking protests to the annual shareholder meeting last month. Story number 7, why hedge funds love charter schools. From the Washington Post. One of the features of corporate school reform is the interest that Wall Street has shown in supporting charter schools. Why? No doubt hedge fund managers would say they want to support education and help young people. But here's another part of the answer. A social studies educator, he taught a number of schools, so his obscure laws can have a very big impact on social policy, including obscure changes in the United States federal tax code. The 2001 Consolidated Appropriations Act, passed by Congress and signed into law by President Clinton, included provisions from the Community Renewal Tax Relief Act of 2000. Okay, so I've been through some of this. So the tax benefits and real estate investment may also explain why Wall Street is so hot on raising money for charter schools. On Monday night, hundreds of Wall Street Streeters gathered at Caprini in Midtown Manhattan to raise funds for Success Academy charter schools. Former Florida Governor, possible 2016 GOP presidential candidate Jeb Bush gave the keynote address. So there's, Stephen Cohen is a look at this. Great. Wall Street really cares about tax write-offs. I mean, kids' education. Story number 6. This is from Time. Study finds watching the Colbert Report is more informative than watching the news, specifically regarding campaign finance and the politics of money. Good news for Colbert Nation. People who watched the Colbert Report during the last presidential election are more informed about campaign financing than people who watch the other news channels, according to a study by the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania. That's because he made the issue a regular joke on the show and created a super PAC, a real-life example of how it works, the researchers argue. There you go. Story number 6. This is from Copy Ranter. He goes into Buzzfeed's native advertising, nothing but a confidence game. Buzzfeed's advertising team has created value by creating ads that mirror their editorial posts. This is terrible for brands, self-defeating even. Buzzfeed is, of course, not the only one to use native ads. These are native ads when they implant them in the story. That it features the same typeface, same style of headline. The main reason BuzzFeed's ad blend in so well visually with the editorial content is because their 3-column homepage layout is very purposely butt ugly and busy. It's enough to make an aesthetically sensitive 25-year advertising creative vet say so in an internal meeting. BuzzFeed's native in advertising runs counter to both of these industry famous terms. Industry terms being, if nobody notices your ad, everything else is academic. I'd rather much overestimate the intelligence of the consumer than underestimate it. In an interview with Wired, Peretti spouted about how they label everything really maniacally, and that take the church and state really seriously, meaning the separation of editorial content from advertising content. But looking at BuzzFeed's daily layout, it's obvious that they're praying to God you don't notice that their ads are in fact yucky ads. It is purposely deceptive, and it is anti-burnback and anti-creative. The kicker is BuzzFeed's native advertising is really ultimately terrible for brands, but it's great for BuzzFeed. And this giddy circle jerk underway between media sites desperate for revenue and misguided advertisers desperate to feel instant gratification continues. So this is a good breakdown of BuzzFeed's ad strategy and why it's bad. Story number 5 is from another U.S. troops were ready to enter Pakistan to secure Bergdahl's release. American troops were fully prepared to enter Pakistan territory in order to secure the release of U.S. Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, but restrained themselves due to the absence of actionable intelligence. According to official Pentagon spokesman, a former Pentagon official, David Sedley, who last year served as Pentagon's top official overseeing policy in Afghanistan, told the BBC that when Bergdahl was taken hostage in 2009, the first attempt was to prevent him from being taken to Pakistan. He, however, added that once Bergdahl had been taken to Pakistan, it became difficult to negotiate his release, and therefore they sought assistance from Pakistan military and their services intelligence, which is notoriously corrupt. Story number 4. Fortune 500 companies store billions in offshore tax havens, says reports. This is from Al Jazeera. The majority of Fortune 500 companies stash their cash away from the reach of the United States authorities in tax havens around the world, keeping $90 billion out of the country's coffers and placing an extra burden on American citizens, according to a new report released Thursday. In 2013, Apple's GE, Microsoft, Pfizer, and Merck rounded out the top 5 in the amount of profit held offshore in subsidiary shell companies, often just post office boxes located in countries with corporate tax rates far lower than those in the United States. Under the current U.S. tax code, these companies can defer paying taxes on the offshore money indefinitely. Good Lord. Since corporations do not have to pay income tax on their overseas profits. Story number 3, Pope fires entire board of Vatican financial watchdog. This is from Reuters. Pope Francis sacked the 5-man board of the Vatican's financial watchdog on Thursday, all Italians, in the latest move to break with an old guard associated with a murky past under his predecessor. The Vatican said the Pope named 4 experts from Switzerland, Singapore, and the United States and Italy to replace them on the board of the Financial Information Authority, the Holy See's internal regulatory office. The new board includes a woman for the first time. All 5 outgoing members were Italians who had been expected to serve 5-year terms ending in 2016 and were laymen associated with the Vatican's discredited financial old guard. Uh-oh. Get an official wine taster, buddy. Story number 2. This is from the Washington Post. David Ignatius. Edward Snowden took less than previously thought, says James Clapper. As the intelligence community continues its assessment of the damage caused by Edward Snowden's leak of secret programs, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper says it appears the impact may be less than once feared. So he's been lying even more, and you suckers in the media believe him. It doesn't look like he took as much as we first thought, said James Clapper. We're still investigating, but we think that a lot of what he looked at, he couldn't pull down. Yeah, okay, nice. Yeah, you got a great system. Some things We thought he got it. He apparently didn't. Well, so Clapper's bullshitting the media again. What else is there? Story number 1. Shooting at Seattle is from yours truly, Firedog Leg. Shooting at Seattle Pacific University leaves 4 dead, 4 shot, 1 dead. Another day, another mass shooting in America. The latest one was at Seattle Pacific University and has left 4 people shot and 1 dead. The shooter, 26-year-old Aaron Ybarra, is said to have been obsessed with the Columbine school shooting, even visiting the site of the massacre. Ybarra's obsession with Columbine apparently led him to want to perform his own school shooting. Ybarra was not a student at Seattle Pacific University, but traveled there on Thursday and began firing at people at the university until he was subdued by a student with pepper spray. While reloading, others then helped incapacitate Ybarra until police arrived. At one point, people were looking for a second shooter, but that was called off. The school went into lockdown when the shooting started, leaving students trapped in classrooms until the crisis ended. Many were taking end-of-school-year tests. The Seattle Pacific University mass shooting comes just weeks after a mass shooting at the University of California, Santa Barbara, also performed by a lone gunman that left multiple students dead. Whether Ybarra was also inspired by that shooting is unknown. This is apparently just life in America now. Go to college and you might get shot. Good times, people. Gun control, never heard of it. And that is the top 10 at 10. If you have a story you'd like me to feature on the top 10 at 10, please tweet me at DanSWright. Be sure to read all the stories at firedogwake.com. Thanks for watching. See you there.